Good morning, everyone. So today, the first session is NMOP, and we are our co-chairs. I'm Rashad.
And I'm Benoit.
So note well, everybody should be aware of this. I'm just going to let the slide sit there for a few seconds. It talks about how you're supposed to be conducting yourself in a professional manner in terms of patents and all that. I won't be reading the whole thing, but if there's any new participant who's not aware of this, as it says at the bottom, you can come talk to the working group chairs or the ADs. Those are meeting tips. Just a reminder, we just realized that we need a reminder. We can work out the clicker. So everybody, even if you're in the room, please join. Join the on-site tool preferably. Whatever you do, please mute yourself and turn the video off. We have remote participants. I don't think we have any remote presenter. But for, if people have a headset, it goes way better. Even people in the room, please join the mic queue if you have questions. It makes managing the questions much easier. And also, if we have a show of hands, a poll, you need to be logged in. If there's any other, we have note takers. Thank you, Lucia. Thank you also, Thomas. But if anybody else wants to participate, you're welcome. The more people, the better. And here's the link for the notes. Okay, just warm welcome to Lucia and Jefferson, our new secretaries. Lucia is at the front. Jefferson has to be elsewhere right now. And again, a big thank you to Thomas, who's been our secretary for a long time. Yes, just a small note. If you look in the Meet Echo, you see Thomas as NMOP delegate too, but you just got demoted, so we took that out. We forgot to take that out. Here's the agenda for session 1. As most of you know, NMOP usually meets for 2 sessions, and at the various IETFs, we've had different ways of splitting the 2 sessions depending on the presentations and the work which is going on. This IETF, session 1 concentrates on the working group documents. You should be familiar with those documents you see at the beginning, the message broker, message keys, network incident management, and all that. Then we're going to be talking about some CMAP YangOke related stuff. So there's 2 documents, authors from each will present. Then I'll be talking a bit about leading the discussions about what the next step should be. Jefferson, who's the new secretary, is also the co-chair of NMRG. So he'll be mentioning about NMOP and NMRG. And that's pretty much it for session 1. Session 2 will have share your incident and surprise some AI-related drafts. Any questions on the agenda? Okay, document status. So we have our first RFC. I think that happened sometime in April. Congratulations to the authors, contributors, and the working group. That's the terminology document. And we have the CMAP concept, which has cleared the AD review, and I believe is now waiting for directorate reviews before moving to the IESG. Okay, let's look at our milestone. So if you start at the top, we had June 2025 to submit the CMAP concept to the IESG. That's going to be happening soonish. That's the first one. Number 2 and number 3 the message broker architecture, and then the anomaly management to the ISG. There's question marks there. We're going to talk about that in the next slides. And then network incident management we put in November at the end of the year. And at the bottom, you see the milestones which have been achieved. Okay, I sent an email about a month ago about the dependencies between the documents. So the documents which are in NMOP and the documents which are not in NMOP. As you can see on the right, there's the 8 documents in yellow are normative references that NMOP documents have on them. And those documents are either in netconf, in netmod, and ops AWG. And if you can read the fine print, it tells you at what state it is, what the action holders is, or etc. So now if you look at the 3 circled documents, which are 35, 35, 20 years later, etc., they've got right now no normative references on any of the NMOP docs or documents outside of the working group. So those we can proceed without having to worry about dependencies. So that group to the right is going at its own pace. So as those, assuming there's no big changes in those docs, we seem to be pretty good, but in terms of process, we cannot go full speed ahead until those documents advance too. So the message broker suite are the first ones which are going to go. I might have got something wrong about 2 instead of 3. I think Thomas is going to be talking about it a little bit later. So what Benoit and I discussed is we'll do working group last call for either 2 or 3 of those docs. We'll want to close working group last call, but we cannot advance those documents until the documents they depend on advance too. So sometime after the IETF, we'll discuss with the authors, and the chairs will decide when to advance those. And then after that, you got the anomalies, the 3 anomaly detection documents, which have a normative reference on message broker. We'll advance that after. I think this is, yeah, that's the last slide. So we sent a request for feedback to the working group in June. The questions we asked was, does the current scope align with operational priorities? Have to remember that NMOP was created for operators. Are there important topics missing? Are there any issues in the working group? One other thing which I didn't mention here was, NMOP is really based on experiments, whether there's experiments which, people feel the working group should be working on, all those things. So we got a few responses. Some were public, some were not. So the first one was, it's big kudos to the working group for focus on the running code. So we always have a hackathon portion. And I think that was Andy who mentioned that, it's really interested with the Apache Kafka and TSDB. Also more work on binary yang push. SID file management is something that he mentioned. And then we got a suggestion to update the charter to include AI for network management automation. Anyway, so this request for feedback is not closed. It's feel free to send responses either to the working group or to the chairs.
There's someone in the queue.
Chongfeng, yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chongfeng from China Telecom. Yeah, I have one question. Maybe we noticed that there are several agent-related presentations in the agenda now. I saw that there have been several AI agent-related set meetings this week. So I'm concerned about the scope of NMOP in the future. Will NMOP be one of the major venues for discussing this topic, or it will be the temporary place for AI agents? I hope you can give some feedback. Okay.
Sure. All right, so this is going to be a topic of the session number 2, but you got a very good point. We're all wondering where we want to publish all the AI-related documents. So there is something we're going to do for session number 2 in agreement with the AD, is that we're going to contact the author and ask them, how are your work going to be an experiment? Reshad mentioned this. It's going to be experiment in NMOP. And what is the scope of this experiment? And are you engaging yourself? Do you plan to have open source code, etc.? And we're going to have a couple of questions to understand how we can open the charter for something which is specific and experimental focused in NMOP for AI. We don't have all the answer yet, but it's a beginning of an answer. Make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So we have some updates on the Yang push-to-message broker integration. First, on the document updates, so we have 2 revisions, revision 12 and revision 13. And the main part on revision 12 was now we completed the security and also the operational consideration section. And here we would like to request from the working group some review, whenever this is helpful, whenever there is something missing, that would be super helpful. Then in the version 13, we got a couple of feedbacks from implementers of the Yang message broker consumer side. So we detailed a bit more on the deviations, how they are being implemented in the Yang schema registry from a producer and also from a consumer point of view. And also we detailed for the message broker itself the header aspect, so that basically there the reference to the schema and also basically the content type, the application Yang data JSON or CBOR is taking place there. So these are the main changes on 12 and 13. So here just we've seen basically in the chair slides there are dependencies to other documents, and we just updated those dependencies and marked them in yellow, what has changed compared to IETF 125. And maybe also one remark on the message broker integration and telemetry message. We believe that both documents are ready for working group last call. And the message key document, we will see, now I have to, I don't even have it here. Yeah. So the message key document was in the last, and I think it was it 124 or 125? It was working group adopted, and you will see today in another presentation from Ahmed some updates on the document itself, and also related to some open source proof of concept code. So we believe that that document should come after the telemetry message and the message broker, because it's like describes the aspect of indexing and how basically topic names can be created, where the broker integration is the system architecture itself, and the telemetry message is basically the API between the producer and consumer. We believe those documents belong together.
So a quick validation question. Out of the 3 documents we mentioned for the last call, message broker, message key, message broker integration, and message broker telemetry message, you're fine to have those as a set?
I suggest to do the message key afterwards.
Afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's relatively new. We just have adopted it on the working group. Now this time we have like a first proof of concept. So we believe it's not that stable yet as compared to the other documents. And
thank you.
Then let's give me a brief status update on the hackathon activities we did, where we validate the end-to-end implementations. This is our website. It's focusing on publishers, receiver, the telemetry message, schema registry, and producers and consumers. The repository is accessible here. The first part, and that's the architecture we are aware of. And then basically the first part of the hackathon is about, we have additional basically Yang push features, which are now being implemented by the vendors, by the implementers. And also we have additional implementations, notably in the area of DTLS and CBOR. And CBOR is named identifiers. And here in green, you see the changes compared to the IETF 125. And also on the subscription side, we are now moving towards IETF and IEEE subscriptions. On the message broker side, in terms of testing, last time we were not able to finish the Sienna Blue Planet Young message broker consumer side. So this has now been concluded and the test results have been shared there. What's new also, and here in the last slide, you will see also a reference to the NetMod session. So Vivek from INSA Lyon started to do comparison about different open source Yang library implementations. And these are basically the key features for the message broker integration. You see pretty much we have a good coverage on the libYang side and some action items to do on the Yang kit and the ODL Yang tools side. There is a link at the bottom for the complete review, and also please join the NetMod session if you want to get more details on those feature comparison. Now we had actions items from the IETF 125 hackathon. So these are the things which we addressed this time. So it's quite an extensive list. As I was mentioning, we were not able to finish the Sienna Blue Planet workflow engine tests. Also the 6Wind got us some more IETF and IEEE subscription. This is now also concluded. The feature comparison on the Yang library was just mentioning it. And then there were other minor things, like, for instance, to ensure that the Yang push subscription state is always preserved in the Yang push receiver. And then also all the advancements we did in the libYang completeness is now finally also merged into the data collection itself, and the message key and the topic name proof of concept. There are a couple of open items we are now looking forward in IETF 127. One is basically we have an example Java message broker consumer. this message consumer is currently missing, basically compiling the young library instance data, and also the young any data validation part is currently not supported in YangKit open source library. That is also being worked on. And last but not least, the proof of concept for the message topic naming we want to now implement into the data collection itself, moving forward from a proof of concept to an actual implementation. These are the people who contributed to the hackathon, quite an extensive list. And I've been asked, like, what's the biggest challenge so far? It's really, at the moment, like, there are many implementations. There's a lot of interoperability testing, a lot of people involved. So that's quite a challenge. And any questions or comments on the document updates and on the hackathon status?
Actually, I might be getting the documents confused, but do we need a Yang doctor review on one of those?
We had a Yang docs early review on the telemetry message and an ops directorate review on the message broker integration.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Good. Next one, c'est Ahmed pour 10 minutes. Just wait. Did you give him control on the clicker? Just 1 second. Oh, you can start talking. I'll give you a clicker.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to follow up on what Thomas was mentioning. I'm going to talk about the message key part of this whole architecture. And to start with the problem statement, I'm going to be short because this has been presented before. Head of line blocking is bad. Having one giant pipe to put all the data in is bad. So the idea is we want to have some API that both producer and consumer can agree on to split the different subscriptions into different topics, to have them keyed and indexed correctly on these topics. These topics should be easily be findable. That's the whole point of this basically draft. All right. So this is in relation to all the other documents. I'm not going to go again over it because already mentioned by the chairs, by Thomas, but it's part of the whole package that we have here. So what we have changed so far, we refined the algorithm, we rewrote it actually, and basically we defined the format of the message key. So it's now exact format. The topic name derivation is now, there is an algorithm that defines it, and also how we extract the key. Also, there is a 3-phase algorithm that does it. We worked a little bit on the terminology to make it a bit sharper. These are the changes we have since last IETF. So what about the algorithm here? So we adopted a 3-phase algorithm to basically extract the keys from the subscriptions. The first step is basically a normalization step. Subscription can be either a subtree filter or an XPath filter. We normalize them all to an XPath. We have a way to convert a subtree basically to a union of XPaths. Second, from that, we derive a template. Basically, this is the key template. And when subscription data comes in phase 3, basically you have to extract the list keys and the values that you need to fill in the templates. So it's designed phase 1 and 2. You do it when you first receive the subscription started message. So it's a bit slower, but you do it once. So phase 3, you do it on every message. So you can optimize your code a little bit there, and you have a fast extraction of the keys you need to do to extract. And here is an example. It's supposed to be new lines, but basically we include the router, basically the node that send it, some subscription ID, and this is the last part. This is what we extract from all these 3 phases. You will have an exact, basically, pointer to this key.
So, sorry, I have a quick question. If you go back, so when I looked at your slides yesterday, I didn't understand the part in phase one, which goes multiple routes become a union of XPath.
So in subtree, basically you can extract more than one subtree, and then basically you can have, you can extract, for example, BGP information and interface information at the same time, and then they become like we convert them to an XPath. You have a union operator in XPath actually. So that's exactly the point there.
Thank you.
So for the topic derivation algorithm, so here how we can derive automatically a topic name. The goal here is to have a global name that's human friendly. It doesn't have to be fully exact because we have very short space. We have in Kafka about 249 characters. So there is going to be some information loss, but that's okay because usually there is a metadata database. You can always look the subscription schema in the schema registry. This is just to make it easier to consume, a bit more automated to do. So we have multiple steps. We rely on the short name prefixes of the modules. Basically, we allow the operators to add their own prefixes because there might be different teams, different organizations. They want to slice the namespace in the way, the way they like. And it's designed to be deterministic and collision-free. At the end, if we cannot get to that point, we use hashing to hash the last point, so we guarantee this point. All right. So this is the learnings we did from the past hackathon. So basically, the document was initially introduced in IETF 124, 125. We did the first hackathon. We found a lot of problems, and we try to go one by one. And I think the three-phase algorithm that we have basically resolve all these issues that we have seen. And with that, I'll stop. Questions to the last, or we should wait? Okay. We have the first implementation running. Now, it's a Rust library with a binary CLI. You can try it. Give us feedback. And we design it in a way, in the CLI, you can call each phase individually, or you can call them in one shot. So you can basically play with all the phases of the algorithm that we have. It's in GitHub, open source. Any feedback is welcome. For the next steps, so we have already revision 2 posted. We have the first open source implementation. And then, as was Thomas mentioning, the next step is to have it integrated on the whole ecosystem. So not testing individually. Now we test it like for the whole ecosystem, all the way from Yangbush producer to the consumer.
Rob Wilson, Cisco. Slide 6, please, I think. Yeah, so I agree with your algorithm of what you're doing here. I think that makes sense, but be aware that there's no guarantee that the Yang prefix is going to be unique. So
That's for sure.
Often they will be, I think, but there's no guarantees there.
Yeah, so that's why we always have to go back to the actual subscription in the metadata, and if there's a collision, we will have to use hashing. So the algorithm, I think the last step of the algorithm was just hashing and call it a day if there is collisions, because it's very hard to guarantee complete information unless if we have like the full XPath again, the full Yang schemas again, which we don't want to do because you have a metadata database that you can just look it up in there and you're done.
I mean, you could, if you knew all the modules, like you took all the schema for all the devices, you could do a uniqueness check on the prefixes, and if they weren't unique, you could allocate alternatives.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
If you knew all of the schemas, all the Yang modules you're dealing with, you could do a uniqueness check across the prefix, across all of those, and potentially allocate, in a few cases, different prefixes, which would then get you back to it being unique.
Yeah, but then I agree with you, could happen, but if you have a lot of vendors, a lot of different devices, I'm not sure if the goal here is to make sure the prefixes are unique or just have a sensible topic name,
Yep.
right?
vendor issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas here. Rob was raising that also in the previous sessions about that, and we were actually looking at whether there are alternatives to the prefix, but also the module name is not unique. The only thing basically unique is the namespace, and using the namespace basically would be a very long name. So that's where we came up with this option here.
So the module name, I think, has to be unique within the schema of a given device. That's effectively required. Ignoring imports, you might import two different versions. So that's given. I think it's likely to be unique across vendors because they should be using a vendor prefix for these things.
I don't think there's a language for should. I think it's just a common practice.
Yes.
And I have to account for that. If the standards allow it to happen once, then I have to account for it can happen.
Because I know that in like future versions of Yang, I think there's thought about trying to drop like the namespace altogether and just use the module name and I don't guarantee uniqueness on those or have an expectation of uniqueness.
That would be interesting to follow. I haven't followed that work yet.
Okay.
Just to follow up, unique on the device, yes, but not, we cannot guarantee it across the network. And here in the message broker, we are basically collecting from multiple devices across the network. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is Chin for 10 minutes.
Morning, everyone. My name is Qing Wu. So I will give a quick update of this young data model for network incident management. And document status, this draft, get some discuss before this meeting and to see whether we advance this document for publication. And so thanks Adrian and Dan, Hansa, Zhou Chen, and many other to support this kind of work. And also we have some discussion about some issue in the draft. So thanks Benoit and Thomas. And a lot of update we made is housekeeping, and also we discuss some outstanding issue and get it resolved. So so latest version compared with the previous version, we we still have second alignment with the terminology draft, which is obviously 9940. And also we fixed document reference to matching model reference, and we add more clarification text on the minimal element usage, and also in this version we make an incident number mandatory to make it explicitly, and also create incident without knowing the source, and also we add, based on suggestion on the list, we add operation consideration section, clarify unique index in this section. So several fundamental changes we add here. First is clarify relationship with network anomaly architecture. So this issue raised by Benoit, in a recent review, and really suggest we need to build these ops tools chain to navigate back forth between anomaly incident protocols into draft related to a model. And so follow this discussion, actually we have a discussion on the list and reach agreement on the how to do this kind of navigate back and forth, and to come up with this proposed text. Really, you will see how we can map the parameter in the network incident YAM model into the model defined in the network anomaly architecture. So also we agree to follow its bottom-up approaches and use obviously 8969 layer architecture as a base. That means we have a service layer, network layer, and device layer. So we can better align how we can map it to each other. So this text we proposed, and Anybody you have comments, please feel free to add here. And second is we add operation consideration section. As for this, young data model worker is mandatory. So we come up with some text and also based on suggestion from Benwai to move the retention with full draft in other section to the section 9 for this operation consideration. In addition, we clarify the unique index in the operation section. I think this is related to the Reg had raised the comments. We support both the incident number and incident ID, and you can see for current incident data model, actually we have a compound key, actually name and type and incident ID to identify each unique, instance. Alternatively, we, use, incident number to identify each, incident instance. The reason we do this because in IPC and in the notification, and we, we could add this compound key, to identify each incident, but it seems a little bit, complicated, maybe make a performance downgrade. So we, use, incident ID, this can increase the performance. So
sorry, Chen, if you go back to that slide, I sent you review comments yesterday, you replied to me, I didn't look at your response in detail. Okay. So the first thing I did not understand was you have a incident number,
yeah,
which is unique per the Yang.
Yes.
But it's not the key. So that's the first part I did not understand. Is it because there's cases where you don't have the incident number, but you have that 3 tuple?
Yeah, right. These coexist, but we want to make sure for IPC and notification, we can use one single parameter to identify incidents. So we introduce this incident number. So we make an allergy to like SRv6, you have path segment, so identify the whole SRv6 end-to-end path. And also you can use like a segment list. So it's equivalent, but we,
okay.
introduce this.
I understand that, but why isn't the incident number the key? You've got a 64-bit number, which is unique. Yeah. Why is that not the key? If it's unique, it can be the key, or is it because you don't have it all the time? That's number one. Yeah. And number two, this is a bit of a nit. You've got a string which is incident ID, which according to the description can be empty as part of the key. And then you've got an incident number, which is a unit 64. So at the minimum, I think you have to clarify the difference between incident ID, incident number. I'll read your response in more detail this afternoon because I still don't understand why you need the 3 tuple as opposed to just using that 64-bit number as key.
Yeah, as I clarify, for young data model, we have this kind of compound key, name, type, and incident ID. But for IPC notification, we want to have a, single attribute or parameter to, to identify the incident number. So that's our motivation to make a, more easy. This really help to increase the performance, process performance efficiency. Yeah.
I'll read your response.
Okay, thank
more
you.
Detail.
Yeah. Another one is about we need to allow incident without knowing the source. So this, raised by the Benwai. Actually, we do think, for some cases, before the incident diagnosis, you don't know the source. So how do we put the parameter over there? So we, the solution we propose is we remove the minimal elements set to the 1. So we, and also we allow after incident diagnosis, we can, populate this source if we already know this kind of source. So there's a change we made. Yeah. And I think that's all. And we, I think, happy to receive a review from both chair. And also we think maybe we can request some young doctor review. I know the Rajka, you are a young doctor, but you are in the video to make comments. So I hope get more people keep eyes on this chapter, so we can make this worker advanced. Yeah.
Any question or feedback on this presentation /draft? So I'm the document shepherd for this. That's why I spent quite some time reviewing the documentation. You improved, thank you very much. What I've not done yet, this is the final check on the interaction with the network anomaly. I know that you two have been speaking and you added the text in slide 6, but I need to review this from this draft, but also from the point of view of the series of network anomaly draft. This is what I have to do as well. And next to the feedback that Reshad mentioned, so I think that we're close, but we need to do a couple of checks.
Sure. Yeah, I think we need to better collaborate and better align with Thomas' draft, and we happy to take any suggestion if you have. Yeah.
So the point is that you two agree on the minimum interaction, and we want to see how far we want to go. This is what I have to think about, because we could go as far as telling, oh, I want a mapping of all the young leaves, but maybe it's not required. So that's why I need to spend a little time there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say to that is, even if that's good, I think there's some small changes you agreed to make in the doc.
Sure. I add a file for issue ticket, so I will close this.
Yeah, so once that's done, then we can go ahead with young doctors review once.
Yeah.
Benoit says it's fine.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Next is Olga, I think. No, next is Thomas.
Each time I do this,
So we have a couple of updates on the network anomaly detection related documents. Just a brief recap, we have the architecture document, we have the semantics describing symptoms, and we have the life cycle, the workflow on basically optimizing the results of the anomaly detection system. On the architecture, that's the overall architecture. And basically, we have changes, some minor changes in the references towards the CMAP-related documents. We changed them from normative to informative, and also related to the knowledge graph, we also changed from normative to informative. And then other way around, as just previously mentioned, in the network incident contribution, there is a section on basically how the mapping between the network incident and also the anomaly detection, the IETF relevant state notification, which are the key fields which needs to be mapped so that an incident can be mapped to an anomaly detection event. So we described it there, and we would look forward for a review in there. And see Benoit.
Yes, one quick one, because actually this is exactly what I mentioned with the incident from Chin. I reviewed this from Chin's point of view. Yeah. So which of your documents have you been updating to do the mapping? Is this just the architecture or also the other ones?
So we believe that basically with the update now on the network incident, which is explaining how it maps to the relevant state notification on the anomaly detection system, I think we are good enough there.
So the question is, you have not been updating your draft to point to the incident?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Going forward to the semantic side. So here again, just to reiterate, it's about action, reason, trigger. Basically, the main changes to IETF 125 is that we got some feedback to simplify the abstract, which we did. And also, there was some references in the schema name from, I would say, in the past to the term CBL, which is the implementation, the Cosmos Bright Light implementation, which we removed now to make it generic. And there were also some simplifications on the prefix names. And since RFC 6991 bis is now RFC 9911, we updated those references as well. And for completeness, we have also now a relevant state, not only the relevant state schema in schema itself, we have also some instance data examples. So hopefully that will make for an implementer more clear, basically, what needs to be implemented. Then we also put some text in the IETF network anomalies service topology Young model, why that Young model is needed. And I need to highlight again, this is an experiment here. So we are looking forward on the outcome of the onsen discussions. So at the end that we can actually reuse the layer 2 and the layer 3 service models. And until then, basically, we have that as a temporary workaround, that IETF network anomaly service topology Yang module. On the right here, the updated Yang schema tree. Then on the life cycle, so here it's about the refinement process to keep the basically the AI-assisted human in the loop. The main focus, the main update since IETF 125 is mainly on the abstract in introduction. So there is some refactoring to keep the abstract as short as possible. And then we moved some things from the abstract to the introduction and also refined a bit the introduction section. And on the lifecycle process, we received some review. Many thanks, Reshad, to detail a bit when basically in the lifecycle process, it changes from validation to refinement. Hopefully that makes it a bit more clearer. And then there were some references towards the message broker, basically topic name and subject name. And here we are introduced some dedicated type defs to make sure that the topic name and the subject name are within the constraints of the message broker naming. And that was based also some outcome basically on the message key from the message key document. Next steps. We believe the documents are in good shape, and probably it would be now a good time to move forward with an early young doctors review to get some feedback, whatever there are from a young perspective, some issues which needs to be addressed. And in parallel, we are currently working with Vivek from INSA Lyon on a so-called postmortem system POC. And from that POC, we want to bring in also some postmortem system requirements and also some feedback on those implementation and detailing a bit what the postmortem system should do. And that mainly will result probably in updates in the lifecycle document. And I would say that's it from the anomaly detection side. Any comments or feedback from the working group?
While people are rushing to the mic. So those are part of the Recoplast Call 2, I would say, set of documents. So I think that asking the young doctor review is about the right time. Would you agree?
Exactly. You also mentioned in the beginning, since there is a message broker dependency from the anomaly, probably first go forward with the message broker documents. Maybe.
Or even sequence the young doctor review. Okay.
Yes.
Good point. Yes.
But maybe now doing the young doctors early review would be like a good moment in time, just to make sure. But after that, basically, we believe also by the time we also have from the postmortem a bit more feedback, we could include that and then do a wrap up.
So it would make sense to have the same young doctor for this set of documents. Is this something that we want to mention?
I don't think so, because there is only a minor dependency on the type defs towards the message broker.
It's not necessary.
Not really necessary.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And we're all proud of you because the timing is perfect. And the bottleneck is a chair.
now, hello everybody. So now when the CMAP concept document have been submitted to ISG, we are proceeding with the modeling exercise.
So, sorry, Olga, Bernard just reminded me to give an intro. So we have, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the, when I was presenting the chair slides, this is a suite of 3 presentations on CMAP Yang. So Olga is going to be presenting the approach she's been leading regarding CMAP Yang based on 8345. Italo afterwards is going to be presenting the CMAP Yang based on 8795, which is the TEAS one. And then after that, I'll be leading discussions, hopefully with the help of the working group, as to what direction we should be taking. So this is number 1 of 3. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. So this is the agenda. I'll skip over it. I have more text here, so I'll try to summarize some of the things. So as Rashid said, we are looking at which based topology model should CMAP adopt, and requirements and use cases are defined in the draft IETF NMOP CMAP concept. We have 2 candidate-based models. There is no consensus currently. I'm presenting RFCA 345 approach. This approach is fully aligned with RFCA 345 original goal that network node TPN link plus supporting relationship for underlay are used for multi-layer, multi-domain, multi-technology model and full graph navigation. I have a quote from RFCA 345 that mentions VPNs, tunnels, and paths. So please look at it at the slide. We had multiple hackathons and showed demos to many of you here from layer 2, layer 3, ISIS, OSPF, BGP, MPLS-T, MPLS, LDP, SIV6, layer 3 VPN in different labs, different operator labs with the operators. So here are some of my personal opinions about the other option, but I won't present it here. So what we agreed is that we would select a subset of requirements from the draft and compare the models for 2 solutions based on the subset of requirements. So these 5 requirements, basic model, support layered model, layered navigate, semantic, and supporting are the ones that we picked. We didn't pick others. So we are comparing based on these 5 requirements. Here is the link for the overall analysis. Myself and Italo, we did kind of based on these requirements Excel spreadsheets with our proposal, with some analysis and the proposed full model for each one of those requirements. So there were 4 modeling options. I'm aware that there is a 5th one on the proposal, but it's not on the, so I'm leaving Rashid to kind of go through it. I will just go quickly through the 4 proposals and focus on the one that I favor. So the first one is joint common proposal. My comment about it that we already disagreed on the base itself, so I'm worried that co-authoring one base would require solving the problems before starting, and maybe it will not be the fastest option. Second option was a CMAP draft based and T mapping out of the scope. Like, although my preference is option 4 that I will describe at the end, this option may be a pragmatic fallback as option if option 4 is not adopted. My concern about this option is how to kind of formalize reuse as much as possible structures that would ease mapping with the T topology. So we may end up in the situation which is similar as option 1 to kind of as much as possible align. Third option is TE as a base for multi-layer topology. I have different concerns in terms of profiling, that the current proposal for model that it doesn't show tunnels and tunnel interfaces, and applicability across all layers technologies that maybe I'm aware, but I didn't see POCs and hackathons that prove outside of the optical domain. And the option that I'm favor would be to use both, but depending on the use cases. So this is the preferred direction for me. It's clean split. a CMAP draft-based proposed generic top-down navigation across and into any domain layer technology using just network node TP-Link and supporting very simple navigation. CMAP draft can provide declarative what if in an intent read-write for topologies, and existing young modules remain for exactly what their purpose was, to be continued in the exactly same way for technology specific in domain depth and control, and for imperative realization of intents. New modules, for example, OSPF and ISIS topologies, may use CMAP for both read and write, but we can be very specific that for optical control, the existing, same as for layer 3 VPN, provisioning and configuration, the existing young modules would continue to be used. So we can be more specific in terms of this option and agree exactly the scope of one versus other, but this leaves RFC 8345 option to go ahead independently. And it doesn't affect, I believe it's complementary option, it's not competing option with the TE.
So Olga, I've got if you go back to slide 6, I just want to make sure that everybody's talking the same language. So when you say two ways, and the first way is generic CMAP draft, what CMAP draft are you referring to? Yours?
RFC 8345 extensions. It's
Okay.
initial proposal, but we would work on it and then.
Okay, so the first CMAP draft you're referring to, so the generic way would be draft Havel CMAP Yang, or I forget what exactly
going
it's
forward,
called.
but that one is just initial draft, so any proposal is for the reviews, and
Okay.
there is nothing there. There are some extensions there that we are proposing, but those extensions are based on the existing RFC 8345 terminology. And
Okay, and when you say detailed as the second one, existing Yang, are you referring to TE?
yes.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
Mm.
Like I would say TE is used to control, to do traffic engineering, because it has all the attributes that are needed for traffic
Yep.
engineering. But when the tunnels are created, when the paths are created, then CMAP sees them in different abstraction as a view. They become links, layered links with supporting. So CMAP would not have any impact on write in the optical world, except maybe for declarative intents and what ifs.
Okay.
So the next few slides, I'll try to be very.
I'm sorry, Dan has a question.
No, not a question. I want to also.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I want
thanks.
to also support your option number 4 with ADT 45. I think it makes sense from an operator perspective that we use this one as a core foundation
Thanks.
of the CMAP.
We did hackathons with this, and thank you so much. And we tried to kind of. So I'll go into this is the option 4 then. Again, a lot of text and clarifications, but the goal here is alignment with fully RFC 8345 way of doing things, and augmentations are done in the spirit of A3.45 in a very simple way. So for each of the requirements here, we have, for the basic model support, we only have the basic network node TP-Link for every layer, every topology. It's quite simple. There is no need to have some deep understanding, and it can wire all the different young modules around it.
Nigel can go ahead.
Just I came in
Yeah.
late, sorry. I just wanted to support your option 4 also. I think it's very pragmatic, and it gives us the right shape to build, quite different topologies to optical and so on. So I think it's really important. It's okay.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you very much, Dan and Nigel. So in terms of supporting which option, Olga is going to present, then Italo and Rachel is going to lead this discussion for exactly this type of feedback. Thank you.
So the requirement basic model support is done through the basic entities, and we, as I mentioned already, we did model all the layers from layer 2, layer 3, IGP, ISIS, OSPF, BGP, MPLS TE, SIV6, MPLS LDP, layer 3 VPN, layer 2 VPN. So we did all of this only using these 4 concepts. For layering, we used supporting for everything, and then we identified some gaps, which I will address with the next requirement. But supporting could be used again for any underlay between these layers. And you can model, the modeling is done in the way that it includes both management control and data plane concerns. Navigation, you can see on the top layer here how navigation is done, navigation change, all via supporting link. You can go top down, very basic relationship, simple queries that would allow both Young and another kind of use natural language on top of Young, for example. Yeah. So this is the one where we have example of how few attributes could be added in the supporting, which we identify as gaps, very simple extension. And this is some extensions to the supporting, how to support TP to node or node to network. I think this is the most important slide. I hope I can maybe just finish it. Why is it the right approach for CMAP? I believe it's a right model for the job. Navigation is a topology walk, network node link termination point supporting. That's really what RFC 8345 purpose was. And we talked with Alex yesterday about it, and that's what it is. Validated across all of these technologies, hackathons, POCs. The simple toolbox is proven sufficient with some augmentations that we identified as gaps and based on CMAP requirements. Augment, don't deflate. So the important thing here is when gap appears, just add leaves on existing entities and relations. Don't create new entities, don't create new relations. 4 leaves on supporting link, resolve primary backup, path ordering, bundle overlay, instead of having all of these things modeled as separate entities. T keeps its rightful role, realization, not multi-technology, multi-layer. So it's really, I believe strongly it's complementary, not competing. We have one model, many use cases, so it can be used at navigation, intent, what if, etc. And all 4 entities could be used in the same way. And discipline in choosing, not over-engineer. So every layer navigable with one primitive, every topology, navigation with one primitive independent of service type, domain, or technology. Every gap closable with simple augmentation. Every use case can find the context and then use the existing YAML modules. The proposal doesn't add power CMAP Plex, it refuses to add complexity CMAP really doesn't need.
Thank you, Olga.
Just a bit of fairness, we'll give you 1 minute more. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I have more time than slides. I have more slides than time, so I will skip on some of them. I'm focusing on the most important one. So this draft is describing the applicability of 8795 for addressing the CMAP applications. So it's mainly an applicability statements, and is using also the T topology profile, which is a work in progress in TIS, on how to use a subset of it. Just a clarification which I thought people were confused after last meeting. If you look at the CMAP requirements, I think we can divide into 3 groups. Some requirements are already met by 8345. Some are not met neither by 8345 nor by 8795, and there is no discussion on the fact that 8345 should be reused. And in the second case, in the red one, we need to new model. The big issue is about the requirements which may be supported by 8795. We don't have an agreement on how to address them, and we don't have an agreement about what is this list yet. And the content of the draft is an initial gap analysis for some, but not all, of the requirements that can be addressed by 8795, and also provides an appendix with some consideration about programmatic profiling to deviation statements. Why do we have this debate? Okay, my concern by having application-specific data models is that if we can have a situation where everything works well, I have a control array which supports an application-specific data model for application 1. Everything works perfectly. I have a controller B which provides an application-specific data model for application 2, and everything works perfectly. As soon as I want to move application 1 over controller B, then I'm having a problem. I have exactly the same set of information, just different data models, and the controller B vendor will say, oh, I'm standard compliant, I have all the information that you need, I'm not going to change. Application 1 vendor will say, I'm standard compliant, I have all the information that you need, I'm not going to change. And you, Mr. Operator, will have to fit into this fight and try to manage this mess. That's why I think it's not a good idea to go and with multiple application-specific data models. But saying, as an example here, we can see, for example, this will be a nice animated slides. So I'm starting with application number 1. I created an application-specific data model 1 with 2 attributes, 1 and 2. Then I have an application 2 that needs attribute 2 and 3. Oh, I cannot use the model number 1 because attribute number 1 is not needed to my application. So I need to create another model with 2 and 3. Then I have another application 3 which needs attribute 1 and 3. Then I create another model with attribute 1 and 3. And then what happens? So I have 3 models which report 3 attributes under 3 different models, just because they have different combinations I need, or different syntax, or different formatting. Then what happens? Application 1 evolves and says, oh, actually, I need also attribute number 3. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add attribute 3 to my model. And application 3 will say, I also need attribute 2. And I go to add attribute 2 to my model. And then I have 2 data models which have exactly the same content, just different format. That's the way. My question is, how many data models do we need to report the link, the bandwidth or the latency of the link, just because somebody uses that for power computation and somebody uses for something else like motif analysis? It's the same information. Why do we need different data model? Because the application are going to do different use of that. I don't understand. The idea of the profile is I create a single data model with all the 3 attributes that I need, and application number 1 will only use 2, application number 2 will only use 2, application number 3 will use different queues, and then when you migrate, you will just use more attributes that are already there in the main model, and the controller just need to implement only 1 data model with all the attributes reported once. The controller may also omit some of the attributes because maybe it's not needed, but that's okay. The issue we have here is people complaining about how we can do that programmatically. I know how many POC and some deployments we are implementing profiles de facto by mutual agreement between the client and the server, but only here I'm having problems, and I will see whether it is interesting or whether people has an idea how to solve it. It's really good to understand what is the problem. And what we learn from other...
Sorry, Talo, I have a question. Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
This one?
Yep. So just to clarify, because there's been, we've been talking about profiles for a couple of IETFs now. I think some people on the T side, they're very familiar with what profiles are. I was not. So I just want to confirm, and also not just for me, but for everybody else. So the example you're giving here is they're all using the same module.
Yes.
Even though they don't support
everything.
Full
yes.
schema.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And so, and the way this is conveyed is via, I don't know, customer documentation.
Yes, usually what we did was we defined in the POC I worked on, I took the YARN tree from 8795, I just manually removed the leaves which were not needed, and sometimes the tree becomes very short. What I did in this graph is I used the deviation statement to manually generate the pruned tree. But basically it was to say, we need this attribute, we need this attribute, we need this attribute. And all the other attributes are not needed.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused now. If you're pruning it, whether by doing copy, paste, or whether you're doing deviation, you have a different module.
It's the same model, it's the same namespace. It's just telling you what attributes are needed. Like here, I'm saying, you see that the tree of example used by application 1 is the same module, same set of attributes, but the tree is much smaller than the tree that the microcontroller is implementing. So it's just providing a subset of the attributes. I'm implementing attribute 1, implementing attribute 2. I don't need 3 and 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to add that I think it's the same module, but a different schema tree. Would you agree, Italo?
That's the first statement.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And one more question, if I may. So you use profile because you don't want to implement everything. So app 1 doesn't need the full set. App 2 doesn't need the full set. They just need different parts.
Yes.
So that's why you're pruning this instead of loading everything.
Correct. Yes. Okay. What we learn, we notice in the other working groups that even if we have a young data model, is a condition necessary but not sufficient for multi-vendor interop. Is what we find useful and needed sometimes is to have some guidelines. If you have this application, this the way you need to use this, not only which attributes, but how do you use those attributes to represent specific conditions or specific solutions. Otherwise, people will come up with the same YAM model in different instances for the same, to represent the same entities, because they have a different interpretation of the syntax or of the semantic beyond that attribute or a structure. And we think applicability statements are a good way to guide people to implement the YAM model in the same way. But what we notice, and we have two examples, one is a transport MBI in CCAM, the other one is a packet optical integration in TIS. What I notice is that people tend to lose enthusiasm on this type of work, and because it's a lot of work, because you have to describe very well the application environment and go into the details. And sometimes it's easy to just write the YAM data model that address my use case. So I understand the personal attitude to board. I have this problem, I have this YAM data model, it's fixing my use case. I don't care about anything else. But this is going to be an issue for those who have to put everything together. So, okay, this I already presented the work that we've done. Okay, I don't know exactly what is the issue. The issue, it looks like the issue is, okay, we are creating new entities to address missing gaps, like the path. The path is another set of links. There is a primary path, backup path. You have a lot of rules. We needed that. So all this connectivity matrix was added because nodes may have connectivity constraints and so on. And at this moment in time, my conclusion is, okay, people claim they want something simple, and this, I will go quick. I presented last time. Simple is very subjective. And okay, Nigel?
I just wanted to support your point on the Yang model is not sufficient. I know you know that I do support you very strongly on that. It's not sufficient. You can have a mass of different ways of interpreting it, which is exactly why we had to put together TR547 in TAPI, which is an immense amount of work, as you also pointed out, but it's fundamentally necessary. So I'm not sure I will resolve that challenge, but it's true. The Yang model is not sufficient to...
My suggestion is to spend more time on those work,
I know,
rather than in creating a model that do already solve problems which have been already solved. But
knowing how long it takes to do that work, it's a big challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Another issue, when I talk with CIMA people, sometimes I'm confused about whether we really need a profile or a subset or we need a superset, because if you look at the concept, when we talk about T, for capacity planning, you need all the information about T. For what-if analysis, I hardly believe you can do what-if analysis without implementing 8795 completely, because if you don't know how your T algorithms are going to react to a specific condition, your what-if analysis will be completely broken. So again, so depends on, maybe it looks like that depending on the type of CMAP application, we need different profiles, and sometimes even a superset of the profile. So it's, I'm still not sure whether we need one profile, multiple profiles, or sometimes everything about 8795 for CMAP applications. And okay, these personal considerations, which we had some discussion during the work with Olga about whether we can simplify the way to make 8795 more modular. One idea was to split. Splitting 8795, in my opinion, will address some of the, let me call it, marketing issues, because I'm hearing from previous meetings that the terms T sometimes creating a false friends like, oh, it's only 40 networks, so it's not for me, it's something else, it's from other people, it's not, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Or people say it's too complex because it's a big monolithic model. Unfortunately, it will become an MVC change because if I move attributes from one module to another module, the namespace changes. So there is an MVC change, but it's not a big issue because it's the same name, it's the same attribute syntax and semantics. So you just need to fix some adaptation. It looks to me quite simple from an implementation point of view. Maybe it's a big problem from an operational perspective. So I'm asking whether the marketing issue is worth the effort, the technical effort. Another option would be to work with the network types to do some when statement to say, okay, this portion of the model is when the topology is T or when the topology is, for example, multi-layer, no matter whether it is T or not T. So there are possibilities. We need to get consensus from this. So this is just my thinking. No idea whether this will accept or not, but it's something food for thought.
Robert, I just want to ask a clarifying question, not a discussion question. So here you're saying you'll have to create a new version of the module. Is that because you need the existing one to coexist for other use cases and it's a separate thing? Or is it your concern is you don't want to break it in terms of changing it? Because obviously with what's going through netmod, we're now breaking changes to occur. And we can create a new, if we say, actually, we just think we haven't got the base model quite right, we need to evolve it, you could keep the same namespace and create a version 2.00 of the module effectively.
The idea is that we have one model with, coming to this, we have one model with 4 attributes. So we want to create, for example, 4 models with 1 attribute.
No, it was more on your topology question, the topology module.
Yes. To split it into multiple modules. But this means that the attribute which already exists will become deprecated because they are in a different namespace.
Fine, okay.
Thank you. That's all on my side.
Thank you.
Okay.
In regards, what we agreed to do is look at those 5 requirements and show the model as we propose it. So, I don't think attribute 1 and 2 is kind of representative of what our exercise was. So do you have the model that you are proposing, the profile, how it looks like?
There is something in the draft.
Support, services, tunnels, parts in IP and other domains.
Okay. Yeah.
Like similar to our hackathon.
Can you go back one slide?
We had.
Okay, it's okay. Okay, okay. As I said, the draft is not analyzing all the use cases and is not analyzing all the requirements. It started with some use cases and requirements like bidirectional link, multi-point link. Yes, that was done before that. This was done before that one. So the draft is analyzing some use cases. We can add more, and there is an appendix which, through the aviation statements, is creating a pruned version of the YARN tree that can be used to address those specific use cases. If there is an interest, because it's a huge amount of work. So if there is an interest to reuse 8795, it makes sense to continue. If the intention is to go to another direction, then there is no need to continue in this detailed analysis, in my opinion. So, but I definitely, we need to complete the analysis because, as I said, we also don't have a clear answer about what are the requirements which are not met on 8795. We need to continue the analysis to go to understand which one is red and which one is yellow. But if there is an interest, that makes sense. Otherwise, I don't think it makes sense to keep doing analysis of. If you have 5 requirements and it's a no-go for 5 requirements, it will be a no-go with 20 requirements. It doesn't change.
Dieter Bellanokia.
Don't forget to join the queue, right?
Sorry?
Don't forget to join the queue next time.
Oh, sorry, my mistake, sorry. Is my understanding correct, Italo, that you're in favor of following an approach where we leverage existing Yang modules as much as we can instead of creating new Yang modules? We may actually extend the existing Yang modules where needed. Yes. And of course, profiling means probably deviating things out that are not needed for a specific application. Is my understanding correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so We've had a few discussions in private, and so what I'm trying to do here is I've looked at the various points from Olga and Italo in their documents, and there's going to be some repetition of points mentioned by either of them. So the goal at the end of this is for the working group to come up with a decision as to what's the best way forward. So some history, and this is the reason why, we spoke about this IETF 124 when there was less clarity about what profiles are. So that's 8 months ago. 8 months after, we still haven't closed. We need to close on this now. Okay, that's the summary. We have two different approaches, which are on the table right now. There's Olga's draft based on 8345, and there's Italo's draft, which is 8795 T based. And I believe at IETF 125, Med suggested that the two groups, meet and try to arrive at an agreement. So there were three options on the table which were presented. The first one was agree on a common approach. There's been many discussions, and the author groups could not agree on a common approach, as you guys might have guessed. Option two is using Olga's draft as for CMAP Yang, and it was out of scope how to do how the T model can be used. And option three, on Italo's draft. During recent discussion, there's a fourth option. Now, my fourth option, I think, is what Olga's fourth option is. There might be some differences in details. And so, again, Olga and Italo, if I'm misrepresenting anything about your respective drafts, I'm sure you'll speak up, but this is based on the understanding that I have up to now. So this is based on 8345, and draft Havel is technology agnostic. That is, it can be used to navigate between multiple layers. Olga demonstrated that at multiple hackathons. Now, when we discuss that in meetings before the IETF, this can be viewed as both a benefit or a drawback. For some people, hey, if there's a new layer, new technology somewhere, I don't need to change anything. I can use that way. The disadvantage can be viewed is that now you got two ways of representing things. There's that generic way, and there's the service-specific way. And then, as been discussed before, there's some concepts which are in 8795, which have been reinvented in that draft, like supporting node and maybe supporting link. Option three, based on 8795, which actually I say which it augments. There's a bunch of deviations, right? Or am I? Anyway. So this one requires service models at each layer. Again, it's the opposite of the previous one. It can be viewed as both a benefit or a drawback. Now, this makes use of profiles, which until recently, again, wasn't very clear to me. The drawback of profiles to me is that there's no machine-readable way. Italo has explained that it works. It's not like, when somebody is saying I support module X, there's no equivalent of Yang library to say, those are the nodes I support. Is it an issue? For some it might be, for some it might not be.
Yeah, Thomas here. So I presented before the network anomaly detection documents, and I even shared in slide 8 the Yang schema tree, and one grouping was basically referring to the network topology. So what I understood is if you're choosing option 3, that means basically I can no longer rely basically that those items I have in the anomaly detection system, that I can actually refer them to the topology, because basically we are, as an implementer, we would choose then certain options, and then I might not be able to refer to a stable Yang schema tree anymore. So here my concern is basically the interoperability. When I'm implementing such systems, I don't have a well-defined Yang schema tree anymore. Is my understanding correct?
I think it is, but Italo might have a different view.
Well, I didn't see that draft, sorry about that. But if you reference to node links NTP, they are also in 8795 because 8795 is augmenting 8345. But if you have an anomaly on a path or if you have an anomaly on the TTP, then I don't know how you can manage it without using TTP and path. But maybe that's why I don't know exactly whether it is an issue or not. But if it is an anomaly on the node, anomaly on the link, it can be done with 8795 because it's an augmentation of 8345. An anomaly on the link depends because if you create a new augmentation to 8345 to mimic the concept of the link by putting the order, the op ID on the supporting link, then okay, then that changes the semantic of the entities. So
it's an anomaly on a VPN service because usually at network operators, when we are providing connectivity service, it's on a VPN level, so either layer 2 VPN or layer 3 VPN service.
Yeah, so I think we might need to dig a little bit deeper in the concern you have. My first impression is that it is potentially an issue, but I might be wrong.
You was going forward RFC 345 approach, then you could align both service anomalies, but any other problems in the network with those 4 entities without having to understand specific implementation, like, whether it's a tunnel issue or whether it's a link issue or whether it's a VPN link, not VPN service, but VPN link issue between two subs at the end of the multi-point link. You would be able, via the same reference point, to connect any kind of incidents, any problems in the network in a very generic way. Same as, for example, how Bo connected inventory from RFC 8345 for physical to the inventory. So that's one of the things. Otherwise, you would have to understand underlay, TTPs, tunnels for this, and then for data center, maybe some completely different entities, so you wouldn't have a generic solution, but that's my opinion.
And the queue is now locked because, no, you can go, right? Because there are questions.
Okay, Rob and Cisco, quick one. So I think you mentioned deviations, and this is really probably a question for Italo. So I don't know if deviations are used here, but we need to be really careful about how they are, because deviations are meant to be about implementations not conforming with a specification rather than being used to define new specifications. So that's one thing I think we should be careful. And you may argue this is an implementation. I don't know where that falls, but I would just be really careful at that line. Or we need to go back to NetMod or something, or the Yang next and say, look, we need a different mechanism for this.
And option 4, maybe it's option 4 prime, maybe it's not exactly the same as what Olga presented as option 4 in her slides. So here is, we go with both. We use option 2, which is 8345 base, Olga's draft, to cover the base, L2 VPN, L3PN, any non-TE stuff. The use cases which require traffic and engineering, whether it's MPLST, optical and all that, would use option 3. Now, we will or may end up with some overlap. I think, Olga, you mentioned we would end up with overlap for navigation.
Traffic engineering generates the tunnels or paths, they will appear in the CMAP as links in order to simplify navigation. But the full management and control could be done for the optical through TE.
Through option 3, okay. So we may need some further discussions within the other group to close down on the specific details, but at a high level, this is what my understanding of option 4 is. So the conclusion, each option, in my opinion, option 2 and 3 have perceived downsides, but depending on the operator, they might care or they might not care. As an example, option 2 might be suitable for an operator who has no traffic engineering. Likewise, some users may not want to use profiles, but some users might love profiles. I can't speak for everybody. Now, option 4 has a drawback that you have some overlap, as we just discussed for navigation. Italo mentioned it. We discussed the possibility of refactoring 8795. That could be a fair amount of work and would have impact on any users of 8795. So it's, you know, it's a fairly, it's basically doing a breaking change just for refactoring, not to fix something where you have a bug in the Yang. So right now, we don't think, I mean, actually, I don't think we should be going down that road unless there's people on the T side who have a use case for this. Okay, so unless I think we're going to be close out of time. So next thing, I'm going to ask Benoit to ask the poll question.
Go to the next slide. I'm good.
Okay. So the first question, and maybe we'll have only one, maybe we'll have two, is whether the working group agrees to go with option 4, where we'd be going with both approaches and having them use case specific, but maybe have some overlap.
Okay.
So, so there's about 75% of people who've had an opinion said yes, approximately. I'd like to know, so the drawback of the option 4 I mentioned was the one I know of, is there's overlap. Is there any argument against option 4 that we haven't heard yet? Or, you know, so the people who voted against option 4 is for the reasons that we already discussed. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
I carefully put my hand down so you didn't think I had an objection to the thing I just voted for. So, but the one thing I wanted to say is we're going to get overlap regularly. But overlap is a very common thing that happens as you develop models, and we need to get better at dealing with that. So we see two things are in common. We identify a proper place for it. We identify a migration path, a method to move stuff, and then to recognize that the industry is going to have to move on to use a new structure and so on. That's going to be repeated forever, I think. So we need to get better at doing that rather than shying away and going, oh, no, we can't have overlaps. I think we need to find, so that's more the point I want to make. We need to find a way of doing that migration from one place to another.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Tu remercies tout le monde pendant que je donne les slides suivants. Excuse-moi. Tu remercies tout le monde pendant que...
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. That was a good discussion. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
showing the polls. Here.
No, it's you need to. It's showing. Maybe stop and start again. Maybe.
All right, so you've got one of the two screens. I'll check with Miteco if they can remove the poll in the second one.
I think you need to stop the poll.
Okay,
stop it.
Let me try. You got your slide.
I'm going to the other side. Okay, so good morning. I think Richard and Benoit trying to, to get me on that. Okay, so good morning. My name is Jefferson Campos Nobre, and I'm going to talk about the collaboration opportunities between the Network Management Research Group, the NMRG, and the Network Management Operation, NMOP. So, as a little introduction, there are some discussions on how to transfer information and some have collaborative work between the IETF and the IETF, and something which is very clear, I think, right now is that the gap between research and operation considerably narrowed in these times. So you have opportunity, to explore between collaboration, the collaboration between our communities. So there are, of course, several working group, research group in pairs that can be explored for that. And I'm going to talk about the obvious one, which is the NMRG and MOP, but there are other ones. So I got this information from Thomas Graff presentation. So I have this advertisement for the presentation will be on Thursday and session 4. And it says that the area directors from Ops and management are members of the NMRG mailing list and are invited to NMRG meetings in order to ensure free flow of information in both directions and to avoid duplication of work with the various IETF working groups. So it's very clear that the concept, the idea to have this kind of collaboration is in the charter of the research group. And of course, I think that it's the best for everyone, to try to, to reduce the work which is duplicated and the overlaps of the work between the groups. So regarding the NMRG, I'm going quick on that slide. We are encouraged to have more than one alternative approach to problem areas, and there's no expectation that RG will come to consensus on an approach. So it's kind of a different from a working group in that perspective, and it's something that can hinder, the collaborations, because you don't have this kind of, like the more direct action of a working group. And I'm going to talk more about that, but the NMRG can work as a landing zone for some kind of, works that can, start or initiate in the NMRG and can develop for working groups, such as ANIMA. And I'm going to talk about this as an example in the next slides. And one thing that is different also in a research group, and in this case, speaking of the NMRG, is that the outcomes can, of course, be the IETF documents, but also we have some outcomes that are more, like a scientific and position papers, and also have a good integration with the research community, for example, hosting some of the research group meetings in network management conference. So it's kind of different. So right now in the NMRG agenda, we have 3 main points, which are intent-based networking, artificial intelligence in network management, and the self-driven and management networks. So this is 3 main points. And for each of these points, we have adopted drafts for that. But I'm showing this to say, to try to make the point that for some of these points, we have opportunities to collaborate with NMOP and have, for example, some kind of way of doing, you know, an integrated work. Okay. Also, I got Thomas reached out for the NMRG, NMOP, and OPS area communities, and I have this AI synthesis of the conversation. So there is, you know, some part of the conversation, it's focused on a way we're expecting that network management will be in the next times. For example, considering data-driven cognitive network management, and the need for a robust AI agentic stack, and something that we can see, for example, considering the meetings and the presentations in this week. There are some points in order to operational safety, for example, considering digital twins, and in the NMRG we have some work on network digital twins. And finally, it's the conversation and the messages that are exchanged show that to be nice, to have some joint initiatives and hackathons, or some kind of, integrated work between our communities. And we have an example of that in the past. So for the working group Anima, it started as, like some meetings for autonomics in the NMRG. We have 3 of these meetings, and there are some works that from these meetings, from internet drafters from these meetings. And then after that, we have 2 main points that we think that will be a good way to push forward this initiative, and they lead to 2 RFCs, the 7575 and the 7576. And in this context, we have the UCAN-BOF, which led to the ANIMA working group. So we think that is an important outcome of the NMRG work. And we have a good popularity on the beginning of that, considering the UCAN-BOF. After that, the ANIMA working group focused on the autonomic network infrastructure. So they provided some drafts and RFCs on that. But the work, which is autonomic network infrastructure, is not quite known in the same speed and with the same energy. So at some point, there is some kind of a lack of interaction with the NMRG, which is something that I'm saying this in order to to avoid this kind of mistake, considering NMOP and NMRG. So just to finish, there are some ways to move forward with that. So I think the easiest one is just to increase the NMRG and NMOP discussions and mutual attendance. We can have aligned documents, for example, documents exchanged between the groups, something that we can do. Also, it's possible to have, as we did in the past, some specific timed meetings or joint sessions, as an example of the IPPM and BMWG. And also, something that appears in the conversation is to have, for example, hackathon efforts. So my last slide is just some questions, and maybe rhetorical ones, but is there interest in both working groups and in both groups? Is there energy in order to do that, consider the groups, and how to provide a continuous collaboration? And saying that because it takes some time, to community adapted for this kind of integrated work. That's it.
So just Rob and Thomas, before you start, we're starting to run out of time, so be as brief as possible, please.
Okay, Rob Wilson, Cisco. So I think collaboration is always good between working groups and different working groups and research groups. So that's fine. I think when I set up NMOP a few years ago and things, this sort of discussion came up between like research and what's done, and where it landed then was anything that the operators need in roughly a 1 to 2 year time frame. So the near term stuff, then doing that in NMOP makes sense because it's the problems they're trying to deal with now and solve here. Whereas what I saw the NMRG was more longer term, like the 5 years out and things. So the one concern I have between like sharing documents and things is certainly when it comes to AI, it feels to me that that's moving so fast, you don't have time to do that. So I would like to see experiments of how operators are using AI. That might be something that comes into NMOP or somewhere within the IETF rather than IRTF. But there's more discussion to be had.
Thanks. And I just want to follow up on what Rob said, and thanks, Jefferson. I think NMOP is doing experiments, and I think we should share that with NMRG. And as you said in the slides before, like NMRG is doing exploration, and I think NMOP should also start doing a bit of explanation and share it with NMOP and vice versa. And I think that probably, if we are working on that level together, might prevent what happened in the past with Anima and NMRG, that you're somehow losing contact to each other.
Thank you.
On my way, Diego Lopez, normally working for Telefonica, but today proud supporter of the of the World Cup champions. Just a comment. While I was chairing an RG some time ago, one of the things that people, I mean, some people are aware, wiser than me there, insisted very much. It was about the role of the RGs providing sort of a research agendas and identifying hot topics. And it would be ideal if we, since we are a group that is trying to experiment, to collect these ideas from MRG and identify which are the experiments that could be more interesting to continue the work of the group. That's something, it's something practical. Is about saying, hey, look, we want you to do this on this particular app. That's just like you.
All right, you have less time. Sorry.
You have,
yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
Morning from my side as well, and here's some updates on the BMP telemetry message draft. So here an overview slide to illustrate where we stand in the whole young push to message broker integration. And basically we are modeling the BMP messages, and the idea from the data BMP data collection perspective is then we're gonna populate the any data payload of the main telemetry message with our schema. Another overview slide on the data processing pipeline. I'm not going to go into detail here. So what we actually did compared to the last version is we are now directly importing the IETF BGP model from IDR instead of redefining some modules and reworking them. This is to avoid the duplicating semantics already standardized at IDR. There is an ongoing request / discussion with IDR, with the authors of IETF BGP, so that they move to standalone reusable models instead of this sub-module architecture, so that we can actually import only the models we really need and not have to import the whole IETF BGP, which comes also with the configuration and policy-related schema content, which we are not interested on for telemetry use cases. Then we also added a new IETF BMP TLV module, where we model the values of the BMP TLVs, consolidating from multiple drafts where TLVs are being defined. Main BMP draft, main BMP RFC, lockrib RFC, and the BMP v4 draft. And we have groupings to define which TLVs are applicable to which BMP message type, and also a common grouping to define what TLVs can be used for all the message types. Still in the context of TLVs, we also model the past marking TLV information. We have a container with Boolean leaves for the path status, and also a reason code there. We got some feedback on the mailing list regarding some duplicated information now, because when reusing models from the main IETF BGP, we also got in the best path information also from the adrib in post perspective. We need to understand how to address this duplication now. We also added a BGP open module. This is to enable reusability of BGP open information and types defined in the IETF BGP model, and now this we use inside our BMP model to model the sent and received open message we get in the BMP PRAP messages. Last thing we added is a session metadata container. This is basically when we receive a BMP init message, we get some router identity information that then is not sent in the subsequent messages. So we are suggesting an approach where a data collection could cache this information and then add it in all the subsequent messages in this session metadata container. Now coming to the message broker topic naming to connect with what Ahmed and Thomas were mentioning before. For BMP, we are suggesting two topics. One topic where state changes and statistics are sent, and this is meant for real-time use cases in time series databases, for instance. And here we send all the BMP message types. And then we are proposing a second topic for the current state of the RIB, where it will be topic compacted, so we ensure we only retain the current state of each router RIB. How do we do it? We do it with by specifying a message key concept, and this message key we are suggesting is built with a 2-line byte string with the host name in the first line, and the second line basically a Yang instant identifier path into the actual instance data, where we go from the root of the telemetry message, and on the right you see an example for a route monitoring message. We go from the root down to prefix and path ID, and this way we know we uniquely identify an entry in the RIB, and when compaction is being done, we only maintain one entry per prefix in each RIB. Doing this, we kind of break the like message broker producer approach, where message key is also used for partitioning. I mean, we don't break, but we would kind of then not maintain the concept where in a partition we hold the information from a network node. And to recover that, we are defining a new concept of a separate partition key, and then we need a custom partitioner implementation that will use this partition key instead of the message key to determine in which partition to produce the messages. And this way, by using the host name as a partition key, we would make sure that from the same network node, it's always going to be ending up in the same partition. And this is important for consumers that need to maintain state information. Right, then some questions to the working group. If you still think that this split between message and partition key makes sense, if you agree on how we model the data, the BMP metadata in Yang, and if you still resonate with the idea of modeling BMP and IPFix data in Yang to integrate in this whole Yang message broker architecture. Next steps, we need to extend the document to cover additional BGP address families. And this is going to be an extension of the IETF BGP model, because they are only at the moment supporting unicast address families. Then we need to improve BMP statistics modeling, and we need to clarify authoritative timestamp and also authoritative flex when TLV come into the discussion with BMP v4 especially. Then we got some feedback on the mailing list. We need to address it, and we would like also to request working group adoption. And also the fun stuff, we need to implement it in the BMP data collection. That's
okay.
Oh, 2 person in the queue.
Yeah, so maybe something can follow up. I think I'll ask that question in private via email, like the Yang models you defined. It's for the data you get on the wire from the device to the BMP collector, right?
It's more meant for after the collector being produced to the message broker.
Okay. So was there any discussion about defining those Yang in GRO or whatever, or really it's specific to telemetry?
Yeah, we saw some points on the mailing list regarding this, but this is more meant for telemetry use cases, at least in my opinion. So,
Thomas, the queue is closed.
Go ahead. Just 1 second to remind, last IETF 124 made us the AD for the GRO working group, suggested that basically this work should not be in GRO, it should be in NMOP, but maybe.
Okay, you just preempted my question. So question more for the chair, since the adoption question came up, is if we have resolved the long-term maintenance of BMP, whether it should continue in NMOP or whether it should go to IDEA/GROW. All I'm suggesting is before we adopt the document, we just make sure that we let the other working groups know.
And also for the future additions of the, yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm the only thing between you and the break. Okay, Lucia Cabanillas. I'm going to present our work on a model for distributed authorization policy sharing. This slide is just to recap a bit. Basically, the goal of this framework is to define a canonical way to manage and share authorization policies. We use Jan to define and distribute these policies in a matching readable way. However, the policy logic itself is written using policy as code languages, while Jan carries this logic together with this, it is metadata, enabling it to be validated, versioned, and distributed. And this approach is designed to support interoperability across systems and domains, while different kinds of policy engines, typically PDPs, can consume and enforce the policies. We made some updates to the draft. For instance, we included a JSON example to complement the Jan module. This is important. We changed the type of the policy language ref from enumeration to identity ref, which will allow us to include new policy languages as they appear without changing the base model. We also updated the diagram to show the full cycle between the policy enforcement point and the policy decision point. We also removed the leaf version since we assume, or we have left it as an external concern, because this can be handled in many ways. For instance, what we are using is Git repositories to track all the versions. And we introduced a new leaf, the area, as the main grouping mechanism. This leaf is important because it will help us to distribute the policy to the corresponding, let's say, domain, discipline, or leaf. We also included the leaf author. This will be the entity that created the policy. We also included the owner, which may differ in case of outsourced authorship. The origin, which identifies the upstream object the policy derives from. And we also changed the type of the leaf area from STIN to URI. But let me insist on that because this leaf is so important, because the PDP will use it to scope its authorization decisions, and the policy enforcement point will use it to bound its enforcement reach. During the hackathon, we demonstrated the policy creation, distribution, and verification across domains using this just Jan-based model. In our scenario, we have two domains: server DM set layer 1, mapped to OPA number 1, layer 2, mapped to OPA number 2. Each one acting as an independent PDP and as a separate domain. What we use is Rego, which is the policy language used by OPA. And in the demo, basically, we submit a policy artifact model in Jan to the policy administration point, which commits the policy and routes it to the corresponding PDP instance, matching each area. And to verify it, we basically execute some queries to check which policies are currently stored in each PDP, and then we play with it. We update the policy, we delete them, we restore previous versions, and that's all. Next steps, we would like to keep refining the Jan modules based on the feedback we receive. Thank you. We would like to explore the integration with existing provenance mechanisms. What we have used until now is OPA as the PDP, which is fine to demonstrate the distribution of the policy across domains, but we would like to demonstrate at the next hackathon heterogeneous multi-domain scenarios. For instance, domain one using OPA with Rego and another domain using CEDAR, or even another domain with some nodes expecting the policies through RESCONF. We're trying to define, we're already trying to define a good scenario to demonstrate this at the next hackathon. We will see. Something that we are considering or we're already working on based on some feedback that we have received is to explore new or other policy languages to support other systems. Since we may have some systems that don't speak Rego or only use XACML. In that sense, the models should be agnostic and neutral. So we should not only be considering policy as code languages. We are already working on it. You will see it in future versions. And of course, we are looking forward for gathering feedback.
So there's a question from Mahesh on the chat. He's saying on the policy sharing draft, the only question he has is if there is an overlap with other authorization and policy work. Or even for me, is there any working group which deals with that kind of stuff?
I do believe that no,
okay.
Because we are trying, or the idea will be that our framework should be general, because we're trying to define a model to distribute authorization policies. This can be enforced in different kind of domains, in a node, in a router, in a PDP, in any policy engine. So I do believe that no.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Done.
Thank you very much for the session. This was the first NMOP session. There is one later in the week. I have to check when. Thursday, yes. And we're going to focus on sharing your incident and AI-related presentation. What else?
Thank you.
Thank you.